instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. All right, well, welcome to the Flagstick Podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. Of course, he's Scott McLeod. And this week, the podcast sponsored again by our good friends at Cobra Golf and Cobra Golf's new King Tech X, and King Tech X1 length irons designed with a wide variety of handicaps. The King Tech and King Tech X irons deliver the ultimate combination of performance, precision, power, and forgiveness in every swing. Find a local fitter today for a better ball striking experience. Visit cobragolf.ca to learn more. Also, should mention in there that I'm looking forward to reading the script for the DS Adapt.
Oh, it's
because it's a lot. It's certainly less tongue tying than.
Yes. The script. I thought.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to possibly getting a new script that involves the DS Adapt stuff that we're now obviously promoting on flagstick.com, and
sure.
There's a new series of marketing ads from Cobra Golf on our website for that and in the newsletters, but we're still doing the King Tech and King Tech X script, and kind of looking forward to moving on from that one because that one's
that's funny. I did play those King Tech irons when I was in California, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah, that was what ended up in my bag. It was
nice.
I don't know if I mentioned it or whatever, but I mean, we played, right off the plane, and Andrew Lusty just threw a bunch of stuff in there. We weren't supposed to do our product knowledge session until the next day. So I really technically wasn't supposed to see all the other stuff or whatever. And he's like, I don't know what you're going to play. I just, I sort of know your game. So I just throw a bunch of stuff in there, and they were great. So, yeah, and lots of stuff. There's some stuff that was in that bag that's yet to be introduced. So
love it.
We'll get to that. Maybe that's another script for another time.
I love the secrecy. Before we get moving on here, just make sure you're following across all of our social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Please subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And of course, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell and make sure that you never miss a single episode of this podcast or anything else that we happen to put up there. And I will say that coming soon is the Flagstick Academy. The new set of Flagstick Academy instruction features will be coming soon.
Writing that as we speak.
Scott's hard at work writing it, and
yeah, the one thing about that is you do 24 of them, and then you're writing more of them. So it's like, okay, I have to look back and try to make sure it's something new and interesting, and trying to ramp them up a little bit more.
There you go. Okay. I am just going to do a little technical fix here. Hopefully that works. Okay. Hopefully that does that work a little bit better now, Scott McLeod?
It's peaking. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know.
Something going on today.
Some bad microphone situation today for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway. All right. Well, we'll work through that as best we can. On the show, it is the year in review. We'll call it the year in review because it is kind of like a wrap up of all things that that we have been talking about all year long, and it has been another pretty busy year. So that's what we're going to start talking about on the front nine. Obviously, we'll probably move through that onto the back nine as well. Yeah, because there'll be a lot of stuff.
There is.
But let's start with the front nine, obviously presented by our good friends at Metcalfe Golf Club. Natural setting, a pleasant challenge. There is still lots of time, although it doesn't seem like it, to purchase to get the perfect gift for someone on your golf list. Metcalfe Golf has the perfect Christmas gifts. Great deals on twosomes, foursomes, and of course, gift cards delivered right to your inbox and ready to stuff in your golfer's stocking. Visit metcalfegolf.com for that. All right. Tons of stuff going on over the last year at the regional and provincial and national, international. We're always very grateful to the loyal and new Flagstick readers, listeners, and social media community members. It's an ever-growing community that we have. This podcast has certainly, delivered a bunch of new viewers, a bigger audience than we've had. We continue to grow this podcast, and that's a great thing. Love doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny to still run into people all the time, and they're like, "Hey, listen to the podcast," or they make mention of a particular thing, or relative to the Flagstick Academy, the tips and stuff like that. As I mentioned earlier this year, I've had several situations where I've gone out to play golf and somebody has called back a golf tip because they had saw it like the day
It's
before
funny.
there, and it is kind of funny. So yeah.
So obviously, with this being the last show that we're doing of 2024, we want to take some time to kind of take a look back at some of the things that have happened significantly throughout the year, a few highlights before we take a little bit of a much needed break. A lot to look at it. We're not going to get through everything. There's no question about that. We don't want to turn this into just two
Laundry
guys
list.
reading a list. So,
No,
two guys. What is it?
that'd be a
What is it?
podcast, wouldn't it?
Two mics, two friends, two mics, too much fun. I don't want to turn it into two mics, two friends, too much fun, too big a list.
Yeah, for sure. So
Um, but
just like every year, I mean, there's just so many things that go
yeah,
on, and it's not until you get to this time of year that you sort of look back and just writing out some things here, going back not only through the website but through all the podcasts during the year. It seemed endless as far as all the things that happened, and you put your head down while it's happening and you just keep going, trucking along. And it's only now that you look back, wow, okay, that was a busy year. So
yeah, no, exactly. So let's start off with this. It kind of it's not so much about who won some of these events. It's more about what has transpired. So we hosted in this region. We hosted a lot
oh yeah,
of very significant events. So I thought, yeah, there's certain people won certain
sure,
events, but it's
yeah,
to me it was more about, it was more about Brockville hosting the Ontario Senior Men's Championship, a provincial championship, right? The
yeah,
Brockville Country Club. Dave Bunker won that, by the way.
mm-hmm.
Carleton hosting the Canadian Men's Mid Amateur Championship in back in August. Cam Burke won that, by the way. And then, of course, the PGA Tour Americas was back at Eagle Creek this year,
Yeah.
and for their tour event.
The other one was the Ontario Women's Match Play, which is
Right.
now the annual at Cataraqui. So that's another one with the
Yeah.
region. I mean, obviously we can get into the Golf Quebec stuff or whatever, but yeah, this region continues to host more and more big events, as it
Yeah.
has from the very beginning. I mean, if people, I don't know, it's kind of funny. I mean, there's things that we talk about all the time, and I get used to talking about, and I forget that people don't know about it. And I posted a couple of vintage photos on our Instagram. People want to go there and have a look. But they were early photos of the original Kingston Golf Club
Yes.
and the clubhouse. And people were like, "Hey, what is that? Where was it?" And it's like I always forget that people don't realize that Royal Ottawa had the first Canadian men's amateur championship in 1895. It was won by a player who was at the Kingston Golf Club that was a member, Tom Hartley or whatever. And there's a lot of this history that a lot of people don't know. They're interested in it, but we're so deep into it that we sort of forget about it. And the nice part is, based on that, and it was in the notes here for later on, is that, Royal Ottawa and Rivermead will host next year the Canadian Men's Amateur in 2025, which will be I believe the ninth time excuse me, that Royal Ottawa has hosted, making them the most prolific host of that championship. So I don't know if people, get it across the country of how much golf is embedded in this region, that we're fortunate to live in. And, you know, I deal with a lot of people. No offense to our friends in Toronto and the GTA and so forth, but the province doesn't end at Whitby. He keeps
No,
coming down
no.
here, and we have a lot of great golf heritage in this region.
I think that's like almost like a stereotype or a misconception that Eastern Ontario, or this region of Eastern Ontario, there's like a big gap, right? And it's
Right.
it's not just that we're auto. It's like a geographic gap where there's just not, as you're coming down the 401, you kind of get past, like you said, Whitby, Ajax, Pickering, Whitby, and then of course you get into some small gaps. You get Cobourg, and you get
Trenton,
Napanee, and Trenton, and Belleville, and Kingston, and then you get bigger gaps where you're going through Brockville and Prescott, and then after you do that, then you have to drive north, and you basically have Kempville and then Ottawa. So there's these geographic gaps. So you just think, well, when you're in Toronto in the GTA, it's like you're just wall to wall city. You're driving up there, and it's like Ajax, Pickering, Whitby, Mississauga, Markham, blah 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 blah, Brampton. So you don't have the geographic gap. So it just seems like, okay, this is where everything in Ontario is happening, but it's not. And you're right. There's a ton of stuff that happens down this way from the golf perspective. That's big. I mean, even our own, the Flagstick Open that we play. I don't think that outside of Ottawa, and when you're in the Ottawa region, most people, now we do have a huge Northern Ontario group that comes down for the Flagstick Open.
And we have solid groups that come from Toronto annually and stuff as well.
But generally speaking, most people from this area know the significance and size of the Flagstick Open. The Flagstick Open is a very, very big amateur tournament by size of field, by quality of field, all that kind of stuff. So to our listeners outside of the region, or viewers outside the region, this is an event that's well worth the drive down to play in because of the significance of the quality of the field and the size of the event.
If you can get in, if you can't,
and that's the other thing. If you can get in, I mean, we're literally, we're probably at this point 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks from opening registration for it.
Right. Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, those that are listening. Yeah. We're 3 weeks away from opening registration for the 2025 Flagstick Open. That registration will be open to previous participants first, and the chances of it not being mostly sold out within the first 3 or 4 days.
And I'll warn people, as soon as we get the doors open for the shootout this year, get in as well, because that's growing back in buzz. That's our later in the year event. So
and actually both of those will probably open. Registration will probably open pretty quick. We're not going to hold off. In the past, we've kind of held off. No, because there's a lot that has to be done with respect to ordering stuff. So we're opening very early this year. Okay. So that's the shameless plug for the Flagstick Open, but not really a shameless plug.
No, and it's going to continue. And as I mentioned, the Canadian Men's Amateur coming to Royal Ottawa and Rivermead in 2025. The World Junior Girls returns to this region. You got to remember, this is the region that first hosted that event. So, it's going to be back here. I think now that's the 4th time for the World Junior Girls Golf Championship. And we've had, a lot of people just watched the Grant Thornton Invitational, and they saw players like Gino Thitical, who won it at Camelot, shot 61 there or whatever. We've had some of the best players in the world, playing in this region, some of those events. So anyways, that tradition will continue, that's for sure.
So just kind of shifting gears a little bit, we talk about that. We talk about what's happened over the past year, significant winners on the PGA Tour this year too.
For sure. When we start to look at different events, especially Canadian related events, there's a lot happening. So
Nick Taylor won the Waste Management Phoenix Open,
which was
back
cool,
in February,
considering he had tied, or he'd been second the year before. So and it was it's a huge event, so that was a great way to kick off the year, especially for Canadians on the tour.
Pendrith won at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson in May. Robert McIntyre, what a cool win that was.
That was a cool win.
And this is the thing. Some of this stuff is like, so and so won this event, and so and so won this, but that's not just what it's about. It's like, if you watch the RBC Canadian Open this year, and you saw how Robert McIntyre won, and his dad on the bag, and you can't make this stuff up.
No.
The shot that he hit in on 18, there's a lot of
emotions.
moving
Yeah,
pieces to that whole victory, which is why it's on this sort of list of significant things that happened in 2024,
right. Yeah.
because of the nature of it.
Well, and it's interesting here because I've been asking some people on Instagram kind of what were the stories of the year, and I mean I've asked so far a little bit about one of the ones that we're going to talk about here in a minute. Was that the story, the Canadian story of the year? Was it one of our other players that we'll talk about in a minute, winning 3 times on the Champions Tour? And it's funny because some will say yes, some will say no, and I'm very interested to hear what people will say is if those aren't, and I know a number of them will refer to Robert McIntyre winning the RBC Canadian Open
Yeah,
because it was a pivotal moment, which is wild considering how big a moment it was for Nick Taylor to win that the year before. And it's hard to top that, but they've had a pretty good run of stories, that's for sure.
yeah. So the CPKC Women's Open in Calgary,
Yeah.
Lauren Coughlin won that.
Yeah, and
I,
that was big because of the attendance as well. They
yeah,
set a record for attendance, which was fantastic.
I mean, and that's an event that continues to set record attendance.
Yes,
So
it will.
because obviously when it was in Ottawa, there was
Hmm.
record attendance. So
Yep.
you kind of think that it's hard to kind of top something that when that happens, but to turn around the
Right.
very next year and top it again,
Yeah.
that's significant.
And we can
Um,
look forward to, that coming back to the National Capital Region at some time as well.
oh,
So
for sure. Why wouldn't they? Right?
expect an announcement on that at some
It's
point.
good for their tour.
Yeah.
Now, the President's Cup was held at Royal Montreal,
Yeah, that was
and it
huge.
had been held at Royal Montreal, in the past. Um,
2007. Yep.
yeah. Team USA won, but
That wasn't the
I
big
guess
story.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't really. I mean, I guess that's why you don't have it bolded on the list. It's a, but what I will say significance of that is that uh, it wasn't really all that
No,
exciting. Like, I mean, I didn't
Friday.
get the interest level, the
No,
excitement
the
level.
Friday, the Friday was, because obviously the 5-0 or whatever. But yes, it fizzled at the end. But I think it's more significant just because you've got one of the biggest men's professional events in the world return to Canada,
Yes,
right? And I think
well,
there's 3 years of build up to it, and that was the story more than anything, not the storylines of the actual play.
exactly. Now you mentioned just while we're still on the topic of PGA Tour, and that is obviously we're talking about uh, PGA Tour champions and talking about Stephen
Mm,
Ames
yeah,
as a Canadian and what he did on the. I know that's probably further down the
unbelievable.
list, but I thought
Yeah,
I'd just
no,
jump
that's
on that
fine.
list.
Bring it out
Um,
now.
because we're talking about PGA Tour professional golf,
Yeah.
the significance of that kind of an accomplishment.
Yeah, three wins was just, yeah, a
Yeah,
heck of a year. And again, that's one of the ones I pointed to as the potential story of the year for golf in Canada. And I think for those who say no, they're maybe the ones that are not paying attention to it or realize or understand how difficult that is to do. It's some may think it's a hit and giggle tour, but I can tell you those are difficult tournaments to win. I mean,
some good players.
there's a reason it's called the Champions Tour. The idea out there is that they're selling pro-ams. To sell pro-ams, they need high profile players. They have high profile players playing that tour,
Yeah,
whether they're over 50 or not. Just watch the scoring, watch their ability, and to do it 3 times and just have the consistency, 9 top 10s as well during that year. It was an incredible year for Stephen Ames, and if the President's Cup maybe had a little bit more pizzazz to it, maybe that could have usurped it a little bit. But I still think Ames, that was definitely one of the bigger events of the year.
yeah, and that it should be noted too that when it comes to professional golf tours, the PGA Tour Champions is probably, I mean, I could be wrong, but it's probably the toughest tour to get onto. And I say that
Yeah.
in that ahead of getting onto the PGA Tour. The
Hmm.
PGA Tour,
Sure.
you've got Q schools, like numerous
Yeah,
Q
there's
schools
multiple
that you can
ways.
play
Yeah.
in. There's multiple ways to get through. You can get there through the Corn Ferry Tour,
Right.
and there's more space available
Right.
for players to get a PGA Tour card through qualifying than there is to get a Champions Tour card. Like, it is hard to get a spot because
small fields. A lot
no
of the
cuts.
players, no cuts. Players qualify by their status previously on the world tours, particularly the PGA Tour. So in most cases, they have had to had a good PGA Tour career to be able to qualify to get on there. And then if you're trying to open qualify, very limited spots. And then if you're trying to get through the final qualifier at the Q School, there's only 5 spots. Yeah. And the next 25 spots only get you the opportunity to Monday qualify. How's that? So you're right. It's harder. So I think that's why you need to give it a little bit. People need to give it a little bit more respect for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about some of what's gone on with the local amateur stuff. So particularly the OVGA. The OVGA has a number of events throughout the course of the year, whether they be women's events, men's events, junior events. One of the series of events that's kind of becoming very popular is the OVGA Cup Series. So both the OVGA Cup,
Ottawa Valley Golf Association for those who don't follow.
So they have the Ottawa Valley, the OVGA Cup. They have the OVGA Junior Cup, and I was around for the OVGA Junior Cup this year because my youngest, although he's 17, is a junior and decided that this year he wanted to kind of step up and play some competitive golf. And he played played junior golf tour stuff and was lucky enough to get into the OVJ Junior Cup and make it all the way through to the final cut and get to the final event and play in that. I had a chance to caddy for him. And just watching some of the play, like outside of him, obviously I'm paying attention to my own kid, but some of the scoring and some of the play that was going on throughout this OVJ Cup, both the boys and girls, unfreaking believable. And a lot of these players are not the ones that are taking off for collegiate. Not like these are not, they're not there yet. Some of them might not. And the golf was still like crazy good.
Well, you look within those winners that OVJ Junior Cup. I mean, I look at Wilson Dornicap there, who we got to see play a lot this year. He ended up being one of the players of the year for Golf Ontario. Captured a provincial championship, but we got to see him play in the shootout. And it was just fun to watch that talent out there. And again, we've got the names and stuff here, but Jason Roth, Keane Gauthier, Peyton Pattison, Kaylee Spare, just seeing these kids go out there and perform and do their best, right? I mean, I think that's the thing. A lot of people always try to compare juniors to scores on pro tours and things like that. You know what? In the end, development ages change by a lot, and the best player at 8 is not always the best player at 16. So what you really want to see is the players be competitive and get the most out of their games, when they have to. And to see them do that and succeed, I mean, it goes from those grinds on the first tee where you get the nervous chat, when we've witnessed it a lot, when you're starting or helping out or whatever, to the trials and tribulations of what can happen during a tournament, to all of a sudden, the big smiles when the victory happens. And sometimes the big smiles when they're not victories and they just realize, I played well and that's all I could do. So that's fun. And, OVJ Junior Cup is certainly part of that.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I think, I mean, obviously, from a personal standpoint, I watched Brandon, my son, come in on the 18th at Eagle Creek during the one round, and he was having a really good round. He's playing really well, and he overshot the island on 18, and he had to take a drop.
Haven't we all?
Yes, we have. So he takes a drop, but he ends up taking the drop on the downslope in the.
Oh no!
Okay, so. And he's like trying to,
Dad, coach him better.
He takes a drop. Well, I guess I don't know. Jerry was there and said that was his best drop option because dropping back on the island where they were dropping wasn't a good spot. And anyway, so he's the downslope and he hits whatever he hit there. He gets it across. It lands on the green, scoots to the back. He ends up getting up and down for bogey. Okay. and he was so happy.
Yeah, it's a great bogey.
Like, he was so happy about the shot that he hit across because it came out just right. He was so happy. He wanted to make the par, but he was excited that he made the bogey, and he shot whatever. I think he shot 77 or 78.
I mean,
and he was so happy. But I'm like this crazy, because you mentioned the smiles. Is like, how do you you're so happy about making a bogey on the 18th at Eagle Creek, but
that's good though,
because it was a good bogey.
They value that, and they realize and understand that sometimes a bogey can be good. So
definitely. Okay, so I think we're going to take a break, Scott, before we run out of time, and we come back. We're going to continue this, just kind of talking about whatever we feel talking about. That's using some of this stuff as on the list as discussion points, but who knows which way we're going to take it after we start talking about it. So stay with us. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Cobra Golf's new King Tech X, and King Tech X1 length irons designed for a wide variety of handicaps. The King Tech and Tech X irons deliver the ultimate combination of performance, precision, power, and forgiveness in every swing. Find a local fitter today for a better ball striking experience. Visit cobragolf.ca to learn more. Oh my God. Some of the stuff that happens off the air that it's possibly on the air. Unreal. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Potter and, of course, Scott McLeod.
I don't know about the of course, but sure, whatever.
Year in review continuation here on the back nine. And our back nine, obviously, is presented by Celtic Golf Center, with two awesome locations, one in Kempville and the brand new location featuring multiple state-of-the-art TrackMan sims. Your golf season never has to end. Enjoy a round of golf with friends, join one of the many leagues, get fit for some new equipment, or take a lesson. Celtic Golf Centers have got you covered because it really is all about the golf. Visit CelticGolfCenter.com to learn more, book tee times, or to sign up for leagues. And of course, stay tuned because Flagstick Academy's new instruction series for the off season will be filmed at Celtic Golf Center. So you'll get sort of a little look anyway. If you haven't already seen some of the videos from the grand opening and the promo video for Celtic Golf Center in Kingston, impressive looking facility.
Busy Christmas party time. So it's cool to see people doing Christmas parties at
Christmas party and golf centers.
I love it.
It's a good idea. It is a good idea. All right.
It is for sure.
So let's get back to this year in review. We got a
lot.
We didn't. We did kind of skip over quite a bit of stuff in the front, and that's the thing. Is like we get talking about stuff, but the Tunis this year, Alexander Tunis is an event that is a Golf Quebec event that is always hosted at part of a rotation of courses in the Ottawa area. 5 courses now that is in the rotation. This year it was hosted by the Rivermead Golf Club, and they had a teen winner.
Fun to have a young players, and
not only that, a home course member.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Is exciting because I'm sure that as the tournament was winding down on the second round, that there was a pretty significant contingent of members out watching to see if this would happen.
Even more when the playoff started.
Exactly. So Laurier Perot, home course member, won in a 6-hole playoff at the Tunis this year.
With
Romy Delary of Royal Ottawa. So they're kind of neighbors, if you will. I'm sure they've played each other's courses many times too. So that was awesome. Ashley Lafontaine of Ottawa won the Ontario Women's Match Play Eastern Provinces Championship, which we talked about earlier at Cataraqui. It's kind of an ongoing, has been happening for a lot of years. So big victory there by Ashley Lafontaine of Ottawa.
I'm going to back up here just for the one. I just want to mention it quickly.
Sure.
Amelia McFarlane, who's a Team Ontario member, and Carter O'Brien, they both won individual gold medals at the Ontario Summer Games this year in London, which was huge. And the OVJ junior team won the girls team gold, and the Play Junior Golf Tour won the boys team gold. So that just shows you the strength of golf down in this region, and taking on some of the best players in Ontario, which obviously is the biggest province, so often has the deepest field. So a big accomplishment for those players.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've talked about the Play Junior Golf Tour. We've talked about things like the OVJ Junior Cup and the quality of the players on those in those events. So, no surprise to see that kind of thing happening. No surprise at all.
No.
No stranger also to winning golf tournaments, especially from the in the women's category. Is Lise Jubenville won the Quebec Mid Amateur, little two-stroke victory up at Hawkesbury, and Lise is obviously an OVJ Hall of Fame member who plays at a Highlands.
Yep,
and is no stranger, as I said, to collecting hardware at the end of a golf tournament.
Newly elected Hall of Fame member, and
yes.
her ceremony hopefully will take place soon. She wants her parents to be there for that, so that'd be nice for her. Well deserved.
Yeah, not that I was excited to know that somebody else hadn't done their ceremony yet, but I thought I was the big holdback on finishing up the class of 2024. But although I have to say that Lisa's reason for holding off and wanting to do it when she's doing it is probably a little bit higher up on the than mine. All of our reasons are equally as solid reasons, but her reason is a very good one. Some sad news that happened this year. Unfortunately, we lost lost a very dear friend, someone that we've both known for a long time, and in golf pro Bill Kerr III. I first met Bill
Lombard Glen
days. Yeah, that was sort of the first time that Bill and I met, and then just we stayed in touch when he went to Black Bear Ridge, and unfortunately Bill passed, and we're left with a big hole in the golf industry, golf world, in losing somebody like that. Just an awesome man, awesome man. Like,
just miss his face when you drop by there. I mean, they have a great team there, and congratulations to Jamie and Ben, who just got their Class A's there as well. But Bill is missed pretty much every day, and I've talked to a lot of people that have worked with him over the years, and it's the same way. They just had such great times with Bill, and I'll finally remember just the fall scrambles with him going up to Black Bear to play the fall scramble, and he was always great to reach out and make sure that our team got a spot in there, and he was always having a good time, and he was definitely led the good time club for sure. And his boys are fantastic, and they're some of them working in the industry as well. So big loss there.
Very much so. We also lost architect Neil Haworth. Another big loss for our industry. I didn't know Neil that well, but had the opportunity to have conversations with him, and I know you knew him a lot more so than I did. I
interviewed him a few times. He did amazing work around the world, very underappreciated as far as the work he did around the world. And if players are watching European tour events that are taking place in China and Singapore and things like that, they often won't realize that's his work. Doing that work out there, and then the legacy now is the continued work that he did at Royal Ottawa, the amazing practice facility that he did there based on the experiences that he had around the world building world-class practice facilities. So he's not going to be forgotten for sure, based on more than just his work. A great guy, very insightful. I had a chance to interview him a few times, and a great player as well. So
and we also lost very well-known amateur golfer out of the Kingston area, Mike Amson. Very colorful character. Colorful character. I first met Mike when I was first sort of started playing golf at the I think I played in the city championships at
Yeah.
Amherstview one year, and Mike was like a big deal as far as amateur golf in Kingston goes. I remember the first time I saw him play, I was playing in the tournament. And I know his caddy had a caddy bib with his name on the back
Oh
of it.
yeah.
And my first, honestly, my first reaction was, "What the heck is this?" Like, but then you meet the guy, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, okay,
I get it.
I get it now." Like, he's just really intense when it comes to his golf, but just
Yeah.
a great person too. Like,
Yeah, I think he was, people go on flagstick.com and read the piece that I wrote about him. He was kind of somebody that, people didn't really get. They thought he
yeah,
was kind of this gruff guy or whatever, but he was intense about his golf, and everybody that knew him and really knew him knew that he was a slightly different person than maybe the persona that you perceived of him.
yeah.
I he won so many tournaments, and I had the honor to watch him play lots of tournaments. I also had the honor of getting beaten by him in the Willie Pratt one year in a play
Yes, the Willie Pratt. I remember.
in a playoff. But yeah, so it just, and really it was the same for me. He just cut a certain swath. So
Yeah,
when you played against him, you're like, oh boy, here's this guy just crushing balls with. And I've heard more stories after his passing about marathon sessions hitting balls at Cataraqui, hitting 2 irons and just flushing these things or whatever. So another loss in the region,
yeah.
unfortunately.
It's never nice to talk about when we lose people
It is,
that we've
yeah.
known as well as look, for us, when it comes to knowing people, when we talk about people,
Hmm.
we've been doing this for a very long time and
Yeah.
been around the industry for a very long time. So it's not surprising when we talk about having known this person or having conversations with this person, remembering this person from when we go back a lot longer than maybe most people realize, because it goes beyond Flagstick. It goes back
Sure. Yeah.
to it being in the retail business and having these people come into the retail store where we were, um, and our experiences in tournaments and playing the game before we got into that side of the golf industry. And
Yeah.
like, so there's a depth of knowledge there of people that we have. And when we lose people like this, it's
It
at least
stings.
good that
Yeah.
we have a platform where we can
True.
recognize them, talk
Yeah.
about them a little bit, and make other people know what those people were
Yeah.
like and why we're actually talking about them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think, it's always hard when we hear about these things. But as you said, to have the opportunity to have the experiences, to have the ties, to have the friendships, to be able to maybe share a little bit more about them and maybe to get people to appreciate them a little bit more and maybe what their impact was. I think we're privileged that way.
So I want to talk about the intersectionals for a minute.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The intersectionals I've talked about whenever I have these conversations with people about the intersectionals, it's like the intersectionals are such a big deal.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I think most people that play golf competitively are ingrained in their club a little bit as members of golf clubs. I think they get it. I think they understand the significance of it for the most part. For those that don't know what the intersectionals is all about, just imagine the Ryder Cup and then multiply that by 100,
Yeah,
because
it's just
that's the
inter-club
effect that it
competition. Yeah,
has.
yeah.
Is It's an interclub thing, and when clubs are going against clubs, especially when you get this, get up into the A division where the same clubs are kind of lingering for a long time,
Milling about.
there's
Yeah,
rivalries that get created
yeah.
over the years. And
Hmm.
I'll tell you right now, for any one of those clubs that have been in A division for a long period of time, for
Hmm.
them not to be in A division, for you
Is
to
always
be the team that
shocking. Yeah,
finishes fourth,
yeah.
that
It's
is a
devastating.
massive blow
And you know
to your
what? And
club.
it's becoming, Ottawa Valley Golf Association has been running for a long time with their intersectionals, but it's becoming that way down the Kingston Quinte region as well, which
Mhm.
their intersectionals have obviously grown in the last little while, and they're starting to get the feel for that. And it's kind of nice to see,
Mhm.
how it's growing, and you start to see the rivalries as you mentioned, and it'll be a while, I think, before they get to the level that you'd see at the OVJ or the Montreal district as well, which obviously has intersectionals, but they become a big thing. And whether you're a junior, you're a man, woman, senior, whatever the case may be, you want to make that team.
Yes.
That's the pride. I think more than anything, When I talk to golfers about their goals for the years and stuff like that,
Make the intersectional team.
Make the intersectional team. Yeah, I mean, it's really it's lofty and hard sometimes to put yourself on a pedestal of winning a trophy at a particular event, but making and being part of that team is something that's maybe a little bit more attainable, but it's something that drives you and motivates you more than anything. Just to
Well,
be
it's
part of
club
that.
recognition. It's not even about. I
Yeah,
mean,
totally.
the other teams don't care. The other
No.
teams don't have like you make an intersectional team. They're not. It's within the club. If you're one
Mm-hmm.
of those 12 people or
Yeah.
10 people or alternate,
Yeah.
if you're one of those 10 to 12 people that
You
make
made
that
the
team,
team. Yeah.
wow. I mean,
Status.
that's status gold
Yeah.
for a year. And it's all it
Yep.
is. It's status
Yep.
gold for 1 year. And then you got to do it all over again the next year. And there's
And you're right, that becomes a big part of the lore for the players. It's like,
mhm.
you were at a particular club and you're like, man, that player has played on the intersectional team for the last 20 years.
That's yeah.
It's stuff like that that really cements the legacy of a person within a particular club. One, because they want to do it. Two, because they're skilled enough to do it.
Mhm.
And three, because they actually do it. So
Yeah, no, for sure. So this year, obviously the men's winner was the Hunt, Ottawa Hunt.
yeah.
The women's winner was Royal Ottawa. Senior men's winner was Canada. Senior
Mm-hmm.
women's was Rearview, and the juniors, which I was actually in attendance at this year,
Yep.
because Flagstick.com was a sponsor of the junior intersectionals, which we're very
Yep.
excited to do, was Camelot.
Yeah. 5 different clubs.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
That's cool.
I mean, that's really awesome. That. I know it's not awesome for the particularly in men's A where teams that were wanting to win, but sure. and then we talk about with the intersectionals home course advantage, where I know there's rule changes were in place this year with respect to hosting. The one rule change that my understanding with respect to the A divisions.
Changed and then changed back.
Yeah. So it changed and changed back to if you win, you host.
You got it. Yeah.
And there's still a limit on the number of years that you can host back to back.
Sure.
I think it's back to back. And but at least if you win, that's a prize, because unlike all of the other divisions where when you win, you move up.
Mm-hmm.
In A division, when you win, there's nowhere to move up.
Correct.
So there's got to be some kind of a level of compensation for the victory, and that is being able to host. And that hosting can be a major big deal. Sure. Okay.
Let's go general with the PGA stuff. I mean, we obviously flagstick.com PGA of Ottawa Tour. We don't want to go into a laundry list or whatever, but
no,
we can,
because that's what it'll be.
Right. So there's some significant stuff here, and we looked at like players like Craig Stefferik were really exceptional this year.
Yes.
Graham Gunn, again, exceptional player. It was nice to have the Ping Challenge Cup was at Smuggler's Glen, which was fun, and it's going to be back there next year. So you'll have an opportunity to be there for that. So again, continued fine play for those players, and really good stuff heading into next year, which is going to be the 50th anniversary of the zone, which is going to have hopefully some big events, some big celebrations, some highlight destinations for the tournaments. And then our good friend Joe McLean is working on a book that just summarizes the 50th year. It's just more of a summary. It's not it's not like a work of fiction or nonfiction or anything like that. It's basically just a compilation of many, many things over the years. So I'm going to help him a little bit with that, just for some edits and a little preface and stuff like that or whatever. But will be fun to see. But overall, just some really fine play again within the zone.
Okay. So let's jump forward a little bit, Scott, and get away from the tournament stuff a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk about some
highlights,
highlights from the year. Yeah. We talked earlier about the Flagstick Academy that we launched this year, partnered up with Castleview Golf Club in Castleman, Ontario, and it was a lot of fun. It was a warm day. Yeah, we couldn't have picked the hotter day to do the filming, but it was a beautiful day. Yeah. But we did. It was so hot.
It was
so hot,
especially when I was in black pants.
Yes. Yes, you were.
At least you're under the tent for
I
most
was
of
under
the
the tent.
filming.
Maybe next year when we do this, we do it in shorts. But
Maybe.
um, that debut, we did 24 instructional tips, filmed them all out at Castleview, featured them
Yeah.
all throughout the summer,
Yeah.
the golf season, and great success.
Yeah.
Could
Big
not have
response.
asked for a better response to what we did there. We're
Yeah.
able to use them in so many different ways across social media and on the website.
And
And
they're still trucking along.
I
So
know. And as we said, we're very excited to be partnering with Celtic Golf Center this winter
yep.
to film a new set of 24
Yep.
tips that will be debuting very soon and having those out all throughout the colder months so that
Yep.
you can work on your game indoors.
Correct.
And then we will partner again with in the spring, and we'll do the spring series once again, or spring and
Yep.
summer series once again. So
Exactly.
excited about that.
Keep bringing you stuff.
Exactly. As far as some news highlights throughout the course of
Mm-hmm.
this year, there were. It was a winless season for Brooke.
Oh, our girl Brooke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smith Falls own.
And I know that some people, we've talked about this, some people
Yeah.
look at that and go, oh, her game's fallen off. She's not the player she was. Baloney.
Yeah.
Struggles, sure. Reasons for those struggles, don't care.
Nope.
It's not my place to understand why her game struggled. That's her
Still,
place to figure it out, fix it or
still
not
number
fix it.
25 in the world and still a
Yeah.
13-time winner and two-time
Nine
major
top
champion.
tens.
Yeah.
And won $1.3 million.
I think what people forget is the fact that she's still only 27.
Okay. I think they also forget that golf's freaking hard.
Yeah, I mean that's
And she's on the greatest
women's tour in the
ladies
world.
women's tour in the world,
Yeah.
and she's not winning.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The irony is that, high handicappers or amateurs that, talk to us or whatever and, should know that the game is hard. You know what I mean? But I think too many people perceive the Nelly Cordes, the Scotty Schefflers, the Tiger Woods, as
But even Nelly Cordes' year was an anomaly. It's not like
that's what I mean.
She stayed at that. Like she did that for the first part of the year this year, and then she vanished for a while. So I mean,
but people have to realize it's pretty damn hard to do. So I mean, the expectations are just over. I mean, it's hard when somebody comes out and wins so much, but just again, keep an eye out and at this point, she's 27 years old. She's got a lot going on in her life as well. Lots of other things, family commitments, lots of other stuff or whatever. Just let her cook. Let her cook.
Let her cook. I like that. Let her cook.
Because she will keep cooking for sure. So
yeah.
I'm going to predict 2 wins for her for next year.
All right. Well, there you go.
So I don't get into the prediction game, but I am for her.
Write it down.
I know how competitive she is. I've watching her since, she was in single digits.
She played phenomenally well at the Grant Thornton.
Oh yeah.
With Corey Connor, she played extremely well. I watched a good chunk of that. She played really well.
Yeah.
And,
so don't be surprised. So don't be surprised.
She doesn't suck, people.
No. And she's hyper competitive. There's nobody going to be harder on Brooke than herself.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe Brittany.
Maybe.
I don't know what that relationship is like. Maybe she's tough on her when she gets back to the hotel. Go, come on, girl, let's go.
So they've always been great with each other. So yeah, it's fun. So
Canadian All Abilities Championship was hosted at Timber Ridge in September.
Cool event.
And this is I mean, we've always talked about this because of our relationship with Curtis Barkley, and how Curtis is a participant in this event. He's also a participant of the G4D and is now
turned pro.
So hopefully making some coinage. But this event was held at Timber Ridge, which is a great golf course.
Yeah, and this was on my calendar all year long, and to drop by, and I got out there during one of the practice rounds. Unfortunately, it was a little bit rainy, but I got to watch players and talent from all around the world. That was the neat part. It wasn't just people from around the neighborhood that came to this event just because they were close by. I mean, golfers came from all across Canada. I mean, one of the golfers that I end up having a big conversation with was a player from Sweden. And was watching them play. I mean, we take things so much for granted until maybe we have my back hurts or whatever.
Yeah.
Guess what? Go out and play with one leg. Go out and play with one arm. Go out and play when you can only sleep an hour at night because your body doesn't allow you to do it. I mean, there's so many cool things, and it just gives you a greater appreciation for golf in general. And just to see these players, who are committed to the game, and you go out and watch, you'll never have an excuse after that. And if you do, you need to go quit because it's just, these are players getting the most out of themselves and just loving the game for the game itself. And it was fun to watch. It was definitely, like I said, it was one of my highlights of the year.
100% agree. 100% agree. A little bit of sad news, sort of. It's sad, but maybe it's not sad for Danielle, but Danielle Nadal is stepping down, or has stepped down at Lockmarch. She announced that she stepped down from the general manager position at Lockmarch Golf Club in Canada after 15 years. After 15 years of it, she has said that she's going to continue with her passion for teaching, but has no details as to what that's going to entail. And of course, we wish Danielle the very best with all of the what she has planned for the rest of her
and we're sure to hear more.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
That's that time of year as well. We're going to see some changes in jobs and positions and assistants moving to other places and new pros and stuff like that. So stay tuned. We'll keep you apprised of that one. But
she was always nothing but supportive of everything that I did. She was always in my corner with Flagstick. From the time I started it to now, she's always been a supporter, whether it be from a marketing and advertising and having me do some things for them, to just giving me a call and talking to me about some stuff, just chatting. I sometimes just pop out there just to say hi and talk about stuff. Don't do that as much with people anymore, but loved having my conversations with her. Always insightful and always friendly and always helpful. So
I think that's a great point too. People have to realize that, a lot of the stuff that we do sometimes, especially interacting with the industry, is not always going to find its way to the podcast. It's not always going to find its way to the pages of Flagstick. It's, as far as online, it's not going to find its way into social media. We spend a lot of time just having chats, having conversations, off the record stuff, just talking about the industry. And, this is one of the greatest parts about the industry. And sometimes it's us asking for advice. Sometimes it's them asking for advice. And, that's sort of been a nice role over the last, almost 3 decades. And it doesn't always, equate to a story, but it doesn't always have to. So,
well, I think too, a lot of people are used to, a lot of people in the industry that, particularly in the golf industry that have do listen to the podcast, whatever, things have changed a lot over the years. And I know that there's a lot of people who maybe were used to me and the Flagstick vehicle coming around to every golf course throughout the region for forever. And even over the last 3 to 5 years, I'm not around as much as I used to be. I have personal reasons why that is.
Sure.
And I'm not going to get into details as to what those personal reasons are and why I'm not around, but some people have noticed or commented to other people that I'm not as visible as I used to be.
We're also not 25.
Well, there's that, but there are reasons why I'm not. It's not just because of my age. It's not just because of the price of gas. There's other reasons why, and sometimes you just have to accept that. Sometimes people have. I'm still here doing what I do. I'm still conversing with people. I'm still putting this thing out. Every day.
We have conversations and stuff every single day. So, just because we're not, sitting in a parking lot chatting with someone doesn't mean it's not happening. That's
exactly.
In fact, probably more conversations happen.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We already mentioned at the in August that Royal Ottawa and Rivermead were going to are
Yeah.
going to be hosting the 2025 Canadian Mids Amateur Championship. It's the 120th playing of the said championship. Is presented by BDO, of course, and that'll be happening July 25th to the 31st. Royal Ottawa will also, in 2026, be hosting the World Junior Girls Championship, which we also mentioned was going to be returning to Ottawa. So that's exciting.
Yep.
Another really cool thing that I've seen, it's not just a year in review thing, but just a growth over the years thing. Is the World Long Drive Tour returning to Belleville again in
Yeah.
2025 with the
Endless
endless
summer.
summers?
Yep.
What Jody has done, Jody Jenkins, a good friend of ours,
Yep.
and what he's done with this event from his when it was his brainchild to start it
Hmm.
and to what he's built it into and continues to build it into is nothing short of phenomenal.
I just love these type of events. I mean, golf is so much more than, the traditional 18 hole rounds anymore. So, this has become an event centered around the World Long Drive. They've got the Pro-Am, they've got the DJs at night, the music, and it's almost like a little bit of a golf festival,
Mm-hmm.
which is fun. Again, it's different. It exposes people to the game in different ways. It's exciting when you go out there and you see the stands. There's lots of kids out there. They're watching, these men and women hit balls ridiculous distances,
Mm-hmm.
under the lights. And it's just, again, it's a fun time. And I think, anything that you can do that attaches the word fun with golf pushes it forward because it
Mm-hmm.
attracts more people. So good on Jody for doing that. It's going to be back, at Trillium Wood, June 13th, 15th next year, with some various different divisions and things like that. So we'll have more details on that. And I know we're going to be doing some maybe some promo stuff related to that at some point. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So a couple of the things just to sort of, we'll say, wrap up what we're talking about here, but certainly not the end of the conversation
no.
because into the new year we can continue the year in review.
Mm-hmm.
But Henry Brunton, longtime friend of Flagstick and everything that we do. Henry Brunton, originally from the Kemptville area, was formally inducted into PGA of Ontario Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He was born and raised
Great
in
to see.
Kemptville. He currently lives in Stouffville, Ontario, and down in Florida, where he has his academy.
Yep.
He got started playing at Reno Glen.
Yeah, I know. So
I
think
still,
about that, people. It
yeah,
doesn't matter where you start.
yeah.
It's where you
He
finish sometimes.
he joined the PGA at Rearview,
Yep.
and then he went on to become PGA of Canada Master Professional,
Yep.
and multiple time award winner. First team Canada. He was the first team Canada men's coach back in 1999.
Yep.
So he's been inducted into PGA of Ontario Hall of Fame, which is
Yep.
that's just extraordinary accomplishment. We have congratulated him obviously for this, but
We
congratulations
have.
again to him for that accolade.
Yep.
Um,
I
and
did run into him this year a couple times, and it's always good to see Henry. So.
The Ottawa Valley Golf Association Hall of Fame fourth class.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned earlier, Lise Jubinville is still yet to have a formal
Yeah. Presentation.
induction ceremony, but
Yep.
that's going to happen. But she has been inducted. Dwight Reinhardt was inducted. Vera Charlebois was inducted. Stan Horn was inducted. And of course, Paul Charette. Everybody knows Paul Charette. Yeah, he
Yep.
was inducted. And of course, Flagstick magazine, flagstick.com, was also inducted this year. And Scott and we mentioned on hand at the OVJ's Christmas dinner to do
Yep.
the formal induction ceremony, I guess, with family, friends, and OVGA members around at the time. So that was exciting as well. So, new class coming in for 2025.
Includes our friend Curtis, and we've got that up on the website
Yeah,
if people
that's
want to
all
see
up
it.
on.
It's really 2025, so I left it out of this.
Yes,
So, but
we'll
if
talk
people
about
want,
it in 2025.
there you
Right
go. If you want to, but
uh,
if you want to go up to flagstick.com, you can find it.
now, just as a sort of lead into that, maybe, and a final thing to talk about, um, you did a an interview with Curtis at the Ottawa Golf Expo.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, kind of nice way to close out things is just sound maybe some personal notes and stuff like that. And,
mhm.
I can tell mine while
Yeah,
you
yeah, for
have
sure.
a chance to think of some stuff or whatever. But yeah, the Ottawa Golf Show this year, it's always fun to go and do some presentations. In the past, I've done some stuff up there where, you've done equipment, you do instruction stuff or whatever. But, we did a sit down with Curtis Barkley, and it was a good chance to kind of share his story a little bit. And for me, when I look back at the year, that was kind of one of the highlights, because again, we talk about some of these people, and I think, one, not enough people go out and see these people play, but also get to know them. And the chance to sit there on that stage and for people to listen to Curtis and to really understand what he's had to go through to get to the level that he's at, both within the OVJ in able play, as they call it, and all abilities play. It's just exceptional. So sitting down there, was able to do that. As I mentioned previously, that All Abilities Championship, to get to that one at Timber Ridge on the calendar all year long. Got to talk to some players that I've known for a while, but also some other players that I've gone back and forth with by DMs, and to go out and watch them play. And, I know I followed a bunch more of those athletes on their Instagrams and stuff afterwards, and just follow their life and what they have to go through and how much they love golf. And it's given me a greater appreciation for what privileges and opportunities that I personally have, as well. Getting out to more junior events this year, again, I love getting out to any events live, but the juniors is huge for me, just to see that, not only from a coaching standpoint and from a development standpoint, but just to see that sort of that inspiration, that spark that those players have. And it kind of reminds you what you were like at those age. And you're like, okay, you know what, this is why I love the game. And this is why, bogeys don't really matter. And, if you can keep that sort of spark, it's really important. And then kind of a last thing for me, I mean, I was looking back at different rounds, because I was trying to think, did I play a lot of different courses this year or so forth? I didn't play a ton of new golf courses. I did get to play Brantford this year, which was big for me, because it's one of those original 10 signees with the declaration of the RCGA, and they've done a bunch of different renovations and stuff over there. We had that for a Golf Journalists Association of Canada event. David Hearn came out there, former PGA Tour player, who lives on one of the holes out there, and got to get his insight on the golf course, and got to play it, which was great. Played with a fabulous member out there as well. And then got to play a really fun round at a place called Country View Golf in PEI with my daughter, which was great. So
Awesome. The only thing I'll say for myself, because I know we got to wrap this up quick, is that I spent more time around junior golf tournaments this year, partly because my son was playing in them, partly because we were more heavily involved with the Play Junior Golf Tour, which we're planning to be more involved with Play Junior Golf Tour again next year. Junior golf for me is where it's at. That's where I want to spend my time. That's the growth, the development of the industry, and that's important to me. And makes that means it important to what we do here at Flagstick. So we'll talk about some more stuff in the new year. Obviously, we got lots of shows to talk about stuff. We'll talk about what's coming in 2025, as well as more stuff that happened in 2024. But for now, I think we're just going to wrap it up and wish everybody happy holidays, season's greetings. And thanks for being listeners and viewers. Thanks to our sponsors, obviously Metcalf Golf Club, Celtic Golf Center, presenting sponsor Cobra Golf, a new King Tech X one-length irons designed for a wide variety of handicaps. King Tech and King Tech X deliver the ultimate combination of performance, precision, power, and forgiveness in every swing. Find a local fitter and for a better ball striking experience, visit cobragolf.ca to learn more. Well, thank you once again. We certainly hope you've enjoyed 2024 with us. Be sure to follow us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, and Facebook, TikTok, and subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us, and click the notification bell to make sure you never miss a single episode. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every day. And be sure to subscribe to the Flagstick Digest newsletter. It's free, and it's where you get the information delivered to your inbox 3 times every week. But as always, appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, I am Jeff Botter.
Scott McLeod.
Remember, always go for the stick.